The story opens in rural Canada, where we see a couple, Scott and Connor, driving toward a quiet retreat cabin for a short getaway. The road is empty and surrounded by forest. At a crossroad, they stop because a white truck is blocking the way. They don't want any trouble with the locals, so they wait until the truck moves on. They finally reach the cabin by evening. As they unload their luggage, they hear a strange sound coming from the woods. Connor ignores it, but Scott decides to check, even though Connor tells him not to. Time passes, and Scott doesn't return. Worried, Connor goes into the forest to look for him. He calls out Scott's name, but there's no sign of him. Just as he takes out his phone, someone suddenly attacks him. Connor panics and tries to run, but the attacker grabs him. The scene ends with Connor's scream echoing in the forest. A day or two later, the story shifts to another couple, Renee and Valerie. They've been together for a long time, but Renee is still unsure about their relationship and prefers to keep it private. Valerie, on the other hand, wants their bond to grow stronger. To clear things up between them, Valerie suggests a trip to a retreat cabin. Renee tries to avoid it by saying she has work and her boss might remove her, but Valerie convinces her to come. In the next scene, Valerie packs for the trip, even bringing balloons for a small celebration. Renee arrives to pick her up, and Valerie is excited. After hours on the road, they stop at a gas station. While Renee goes to the washroom, a man named James starts flirting with Valerie. Renee returns, and instead of saying they're a couple, she calls Valerie just a friend, showing how nervous she is about their relationship being public. They leave soon after, and the camera lingers on the store's CCTV monitors, hinting this detail will matter later. Back in the car, Valerie asks why Renee is so afraid to tell people about them. But Renee avoids the question and instead asks about the cabin. Valerie explains she found it online, a place originally created by a gay couple to help others reconnect and strengthen their relationships. Renee jokes about it, and suddenly their tire bursts. They pull over, and a familiar white truck speeds past them, startling both. Renee wants Valerie to call for help, but Valerie says changing a tire isn't that hard. Renee manages to fix it, but when she opens the car door, the balloons accidentally float away. She apologizes, but Valerie brushes it off, saying it was a silly idea anyway. They continue driving through the forest and finally reach the retreat cabin. Outside, they see Scott and Connor's car, the same couple whose disappearance we saw earlier. We learn that both were Valerie's friends and had suggested this trip. All four were supposed to stay here together, but Scott and Connor are missing. Inside, Valerie finds their bag open and their things scattered, which feels odd. Renee also notices a hunting painting on the wall, something unusual for a peaceful retreat cabin. In the trash, old food has spoiled, and Valerie tries calling her friends, but there is no answer. Renee steps outside to look at the woods and feels as if someone might be out there. Valerie joins her, and they decide to take a walk, hoping they might find Scott and Connor. While walking, they come across a deer's head hanging nearby, which unsettles them. Renee guesses it could be from a hunter. They keep going and reach a clearing with a deer stand. Valerie doesn't know much about hunting, so Renee explains she used to go with her family to help control deer population. Renee and Valerie talk a bit more about hunting before sitting down for a drink. Suddenly, Valerie sees someone in the woods. Renee checks the area and finds a still burning cigarette, but no person. She asks if Scott or Connor smoke, and when Valerie says no, Renee becomes alarmed. She tells Valerie they need to leave immediately because someone is watching them. They hurry back, but when they reach the cabin, their car is gone. Inside, Renee notices muddy footprints, and both realize their phones have been taken. They now have no way to contact anyone. Moments later, they find the bodies of the cabin's original owners, their hosts. At that moment, a masked man dressed like a hunter appears. Terrified, they run into the woods. While escaping, they see their car pushed into a pond. They keep running, but Valerie's foot snaps into a bear trap. Renee tries to open it, but there's nothing around that can help. The trap is chained, and Valerie is in severe pain. Renee tells her to stay quiet so the masked man can't find them. With no other option, Renee says she must get a crowbar from the car to free her. Valerie begs her not to leave, but Renee promises she will return. As evening falls, Renee enters the pond to reach the car. After several attempts, she pulls out the crowbar, but then spots the masked man nearby and hides underwater until he leaves. Renee rushes back to help, but Valerie is gone. Someone has taken her. Nearby, Renee also finds a camera aimed at the trap. Before she can react, a man appears behind her and shoots her. Valerie regains consciousness in a small cell, her mouth and hands tied. She realizes she was hit by a dart gun. The dart is still in her arm, and she pulls it out. She is terrified, feeling like her life has suddenly turned into a nightmare, and no matter how hard she tries, she can't escape. Through the window, she sees a nearby house where a woman is working. Valerie yells for help, but the masked man who attacked them walks into the house, and the woman hugs him. Valerie is shocked to realize the woman is probably his wife and fully involved. She is confused and scared, wondering who these people are and what they want. That night, the masked man comes with a camera, films her closely, and removes the cloth from her mouth. Valerie begs him to let her go, saying she hasn't seen his face, but he lifts his mask anyway, showing he doesn't care. He turns on another camera in the room and leaves as she screams helplessly. Soon after, a car arrives. 2 men meet the masked man, whose name we now learn is Gavin. The reason behind everything he does will come later. Valerie is shocked when she recognizes James from the store, meaning he had been involved from the start and was watching them there. The second man's face isn't shown, but he seems unwilling to take part. Gavin instantly shoots him, showing he has no mercy, even toward his own partners. So his victims have no chance of escape. Renee is still lying there when Gavin's wife, Lena, enters with water. Renee hopes she might help, but Lena is just as disturbed as Gavin. She insults Renee for being lesbian and casually listens to music on Valerie's phone. She also calls Renee selfish, saying she didn't even ask about her friend. Renee tries to ask, but Lena refuses, and everything in the room is being recorded. Lena then leaves. While checking the security footage, it reveals that Scott is still alive, and James and Gavin are preparing to hurt him. It becomes clear this whole setup is a twisted live show that sick viewers enjoy. Gavin starts recording, James picks up a hammer, and from their excitement, it's obvious they've done this many times. James hits Scott, and we only hear Scott's screams. Meanwhile, Renee knows she must escape or she will die. She makes a painful decision. She breaks her own finger to pull her hand out of the handcuff. Despite the pain, she frees herself, wraps her hand, and looks for a way out. The door is locked, so she hides in a spot the camera cannot see. When Lena checks the footage, she notices Renee is not visible and goes to look for her with a bat. As soon as she enters, Renee attacks from behind. Lena fights back and hits Renee several times, but Renee grabs the bat, strikes her, and knocks her out. She thinks about killing Lena, but cannot do it, and leaves her there before running out. As Renee moves forward, she suddenly hears Valerie screaming nearby. The screams lead her to a barn where Connor is also tied up. Connor is crying, and Gavin's group mocks him. Gavin films everything while James prepares to hurt him, clearly enjoying it. Valerie desperately begs them to spare her friend, but they force her to watch Connor's suffering instead. Renee has also entered the barn and witnesses everything, but she is helpless. Connor is terrified, and James finally ends his life with an axe. Gavin and James enjoy the violence, while Renee and Valerie are in total shock. Valerie knows she is next and that they will show her no mercy, so she spits at James's face. James laughs and says they will bring her girlfriend to watch her death. Renee has no idea how to save her. She has no weapon while the men are armed. Before they can kill Valerie, Lena arrives in injured condition and tells Gavin that Renee has escaped. Gavin picks Lena up and leaves with her, ordering James to shoot Renee the moment he sees her. After they leave, Renee reaches Valerie. Valerie feels a spark of hope, and they hug each other. Renee tries to unlock Valerie's chains, but it's difficult. Valerie tells her to run and save herself because the killers could return at any moment. But Renee refuses to abandon her and finally cuts the chains with a cutter. Now they must escape, but the main door is locked from the outside. They realize they cannot break it, so they must wait for someone to enter, though they know facing these armed men will be nearly impossible. Seeing the chemicals nearby, Valerie suddenly gets an idea. She mixes them to create an acid and gives it to Renee, telling her to throw it on anyone who enters. Both hide, and when James comes inside, Renee throws the chemical on his face. His skin burns and he screams in pain. He runs out, leaving the door open, giving the two women a chance to escape. They hide again to watch the situation. They have no phone, no car keys, and Valerie is too weak to run far. Renee decides she must enter Gavin's house and search for the keys. When Gavin and James leave to look for them, Renee goes inside the house with a bat in her hand, searching carefully. Valerie waits outside for her. Soon, James returns to the house. Realizing someone is inside, he attacks Renee and starts choking her. Before he can kill her, Valerie appears from behind and ends his life with an axe. Filled with anger, she curses him, saying this is for her friends. Renee is shocked at Valerie's courage, but when survival is at stake, anyone can do the unthinkable. They then go to the control room where all the cameras were monitored. There, they see messages from viewers who were watching this show online. Most of the audience were people who hated homosexuals, which is why they were celebrating the violence. Valerie and Renee cannot believe how cruel and disgusting people can be. Just then, Lena enters with a gun. Before she can fire, Renee quickly grabs the gun from her. Lena mocks her, saying Renee won't shoot because she's a coward. Renee lowers the gun for a moment, then grabs a monitor lying nearby and throws it at Lena, ending her life in a very violent way, far worse than a gunshot. But Gavin is still alive, and he remains a huge threat. They can see he is still searching for them. Valerie asks what they should do, so Renee loads the gun and says they will end him. She gives Valerie another gun and tells her to aim for his chest. By now, morning has arrived. Renee and Valerie separate to find Gavin, while Gavin is also searching for them. After a long search, Renee cannot find him, so she shouts to draw him out. Gavin runs toward her. Renee fires 2 shots, but none hit him, and she runs out of bullets. She has no choice but to surrender, knowing she is moments away from death. Gavin charges toward her, ready to kill. But before he can shoot, Valerie appears and lands a perfect shot. Gavin collapses. Renee and Valerie are relieved they survived, but Gavin is still alive. Renee could end his life quickly with another shot, but she doesn't. Instead, she drags him to the deer stand. She wants the viewers, the same sick audience he performed for, to witness his final fate. just like Gavin used to shove the camera into helpless victims' faces, Renee now brings the camera close to his face, making sure those viewers see exactly what happens to him. In the end, when Gavin tries to grab the camera from her, Renee finishes him completely with a knife. After this, Renee and Valerie somehow make their way through the forest until they reach a road. Both are badly injured and desperately need help. They collapse on the roadside, hoping someone will pass by. Soon, a car approaches, and seeing it gives them hope. Two men step out and help them. Everything that happened in the last 24 hours is something neither of them could ever have imagined. After coming so close to death, Renee turns to Valerie and says she is finally ready to get married. She has seen death so closely that nothing else matters anymore. Their happiness is what matters most. And with this, the film comes to an end.